Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush is finally official, and it's going down at UFC 288. I love the matchup, but I'm actually really nervous for Charles Oliveira because they're throwing him a really, I think, on fire Beneil Dariush, the best Beneil we've ever seen. Beating Mateusz Gamrot really showed a lot to me. I'm like, wow, Beneil's really got his game dialed in right now. He's more precise than he's ever been with his punching. The wrestling is fucking phenomenal. And we know he has incredible Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills. On the opposite side, you have Charles Oliveira, who was looking god tier. I mean, he's running through the division. He moves his way on up, fights for the vacant belt. Michael Chandler fight. A lot of back and forths in all of his title fights, but ultimately was winning. He was on a fucking beautiful roll. Wins the belt, 2 defenses, strangles Poirier, and then strangles Gaethje until he runs into Team Dagestan, Islam Makhachev, who was a really hard matchup. It's not like Oliveira didn't have moments in the fight, but the end of that fight, I feel like Oliveira's soul got taken from him. So I love this fight, but I think for Charles Oliveira, this is a bad idea because Beneil Dariush, southpaw. What is Islam? A southpaw. Grappling skill set where he's not afraid of being submitted. Islam also has that. You look at Dustin Poirier having so much success in the stand-up against Charles Oliveira. That's a southpaw, but that's a southpaw who's fearful of the ground skills. Oliveira's opponents on the come-up, really aside from Michael Chandler, were terrified of his Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Beneil Dariush, I believe that he in his heart thinks his jiu-jitsu is better than Charles Oliveira. And he's not fearful of the submission. And now you look at the striking between the two. Charles Oliveira is one of the most hittable UFC champions, period. Beneil Dariush is going to find home to massive shots here. Are you guys definitely on Oliveira? Because I know a lot of people are all the way through and through Team Olives. Let me know in the comments what your pick is between these two. Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. I'm picking Beneil to win the fight. This is my early prediction, but I'm pretty damn sure it's going to stick. I didn't like the body language from Oliveira at the end of that fight against Makhachev. He was clearly beaten for sure. He got dropped and then he got strangled. There was no resistance. Was he stunned? Absolutely. But what is to tell me that Beneil Dariush can't hurt Oliveira too? Islam Makhachev, we talk about he has some punching power, sure, but it's not like this crazy thud of a pop. I think Beneil Dariush could be pretty close, maybe better with his hands, power-wise for sure. You look at Volkanovski, obviously very durable fighter. Beneil Dariush, a guy who I think's durability maybe underrated because he had that bad loss to Alexander Hernandez, but he's a guy that can take shots too. So where I'm getting at with this is Islam Makhachev was able to stun a Volkanovski for a second. Volk got right back up, brought the heat to him with constant pressure, goes the full 5, ends up on top. I'm not saying that it makes Oliveira look bad per se, but the way he got ran over was clean. He got beaten up and outmatched by Islam Makhachev. Obviously, he wants this win here so he can get another shot at the belt. That's not what's going to happen. It's a bad idea for Oliveira to take this fight. If I'm Charles Oliveira, I'm being realistic about this matchup. Beneil Dariush is a monster. How's Oliveira going to catch him? Check left hook. I see Dariush moving out the way. The reach. 72 to 74. I think that Beneil Dariush's striking is better than Charles Oliveira. I think we're kind of high on Oliveira's striking because he's dropping these guys like a Justin Gaethje, but they're all terrified of his grappling. When you're not scared of Oliveira on the floor, you can outstrike him. 9 losses. He's been broken plenty of times. And I think that Beneil Dariush is going to break him here and get a finish. I think submission's possible. Could be another arm triangle. He might even get the knockout. I'm going Beneil to get it done inside of the distance. Now, let's talk about Beneil Dariush fighting Islam Makhachev. How would that fight go? This is assuming they don't jump right ahead to Volkanovski and Makhachev too. I feel like they're not going to do that. I feel like in the back of the UFC's mind, they're like, fuck. If we throw Volkanovski out there and he beats Islam Makhachev clean this time, now he's got to defend that featherweight belt against the interim champ. Is he going to vacate it? So many ifs, ands, and buts. I love the idea of that rematch, and I think Volkanovski kind of deserves it by the way that fight finished out, but I don't think it happened. So the winner of this matchup is next. So Dariush is looking at Volkanovski, and he's like, all right, this little guy, a lot shorter than him, shorter reach too. Not by much, because Volk's got those fucking long-ass arms. Dariush is looking at it, and he's like, okay, if I bring volume to a Makhachev, if I put the pressure on him and I don't fear him, I think he's a very difficult fight for Islam. He's another guy that could go the distance with Islam. I'm not saying he's beaten Makhachev. He would really have to show me a lot against Oliveira. We'll kind of find out. Let's say he goes out there and steamrolls Oliveira. That might add a little confidence to the side of Beneil beating Makhachev. Even though, as close as Volkanovski was, I don't feel like Makhachev will be dethroned by Beneil Dariush. I'll throw you guys that out right now, unless there's something huge that we take away from this fight. My reasoning behind that is Dariush, though he has a good gas tank, he's not going to have the pressure and volume of a Volkanovski. Volkanovski legitimately doesn't ever slow down. I could see Dariush at least being patient and pacing himself a bit, and I think Makhachev will get some successful moments, some more significant strikes, land takedowns. So I feel like Dariush is definitely up next for Islam Makhachev with the win, but I'm going to early lean that. Now we're fucking just looking way into the future. There's so many ifs, ands, or buts before this, but I do think Makhachev will defend the belt and beat a Beneil Dariush. Let's focus on now, though. I think this is going to be an awesome matchup. I really think the fight's going to be pretty damn good, but I think you people will all be surprised how Beneil Dariush kind of handles Charles Oliveira and sends him back now into a bad spot. This is not the matchup he wants. I mean, he's taking it, but it's not the matchup he should want. It's not the one that I want for him. If I'm looking out for Charles Oliveira's best interest, I'm looking for fighters with some type of subtle hole to take advantage of. Fiziev versus Gaethje. Let's say Fiziev ended up winning that fight. Oliveira has a clear-cut grappling advantage there, and I think if he could get it to the floor, he could find the neck of Rafael Fiziev. He'll be nervous of going to the mat with Charles Oliveira, whereas I said Dariush isn't fearful of that. I know being scared of Oliveira's grappling is what leads him to so much striking success when you have a guy who I think believes he's better. And I feel like maybe on top, Dariush will be better. I can see him on top of Oliveira and controlling him and working ground and pound even from the top. Beneil Dariush is going to beat him, guys. UFC 288's epic. Main event is Cejudo versus Sterling. I love that fight too. I had to give a rant about this matchup, though, and my early lean is Beneil. I'm picking him to win. He's probably going to be a slight underdog come actual fight odds, like in the weeks leading. Right now, they're sitting around different numbers. I found Oliveira upwards of minus 160 as a favorite, and I've also seen him at plus 120 and open as an underdog. I like Beneil Dariush, especially at plus money, but either way, it doesn't matter about the betting side. The actual fight, how it goes down, is Beneil Dariush winning. I think he's the better striker. I think the wrestling is better too. And if you look at the jiu-jitsu, maybe Oliveira off the back better, but I don't see him submitting Beneil from that position. We're going Beneil Dariush to win. Fun-ass fight. UFC 288 bringing the heat. I hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. Make sure to smash the likes. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Let me know who wins this fight and how do you feel like the matchup against Makhachev goes for the winner. Obviously, we saw Oliveira versus Makhachev, and I feel like the UFC will probably make it again. If he does pull off a win, still, until that happens, in my mind, I don't see anything going any bit different if they fought again. Maybe even Makhachev beating him more cleanly. Thank you guys for watching. Much love, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace, guys.